Hi, and welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Matt Lambert, and we are at episode 6 of the Things to Tell Your Younger Self podcast. Just as a quick reminder, I am a husband and father of two living outside Boston. That is my prime objectives and proud achievements. But at work, I've been working many years in operations transformation, a lean Six Sigma black belt in continuous improvement and reengineering, certified change practitioner, and putting a spin on where I wanted to go with my career and wanted to coach and give back and become a better teacher and leader of others. This topic came up of things to tell your younger self. What would I have told my younger self uh, to have maybe changed the trajectory of my life? And in speaking with others, this episode will focus on. I've actually gotten some great feedback from others. I've asked some close family and personal friends and colleagues what would they have told themselves, their younger self, and want to go through some of those. I think there'll be some potentially more episodes after this of ones that we might want to go deeper on, and some that may resonate with you as well. Side note, you may notice if you've watched my first 5 episodes that I got some new equipment, and that is part of a little dip into my personality. That when I get new hobbies, I tend to go all in. And luckily, I had a very expensive old coat rack named Peloton sitting in my office. And thanks, Facebook Marketplace, somebody else needed another home, and so got to find a new home for that and shuffle up and get a new mic and headset. And we'll see if that adds some quality to this, but it for sure is putting some skin in the game for me to get the next 5 episodes done. So let's get after it. So I have some real feedback here. I won't read out the names of the folks, but I have a sampling of questions, both from folks from different ages, different genders, generations, asking them what would they tell their younger self. And we'll just go through some here and see what inspirations we find. What one I love was never give up on your dreams. Um, I think that's one that I think in prior episodes, as I chatted about, I think, and I look at my two kids who are almost 3 and 6 now. Their whole life is dreams and imagination. My son literally thinks he is Spider-Man, and my daughter loves unicorns and probably thinks she can fly and meet them. And you know what? Maybe she can. And so I don't want to squash those dreams. I want to lean into them. And it's interesting, as I'm in my 4th decade now, which dreams of mine and when did I put caps on myself? At some point I said, hey, I might not play in the major leagues of baseball, but there were certain caps you put on yourself at some point. It's interesting to think when those happen. So I think never giving up, I think, is a great one, because you never know. Why put caps on things? You never know if you need to do it. I have a mother-daughter combo, which is really great. I asked a cousin and aunt of mine, and totally in parallel conversations, they had some interesting connections. So I'll read those. I'll do the daughter first. She said, she was very specific, by the way. When I said, what would you tell your younger self? She went specifically back to, I'll tell my 23-year-old self, so specifically 23 years old, that it will all work itself out. Not every problem is meant for you to solve. That hits for me. I work as a coach, consultant, partner to my wife, and a lot of times I come thinking, oh, I want to help. And when someone tells me something, I kind of immediately assume, oh, that's a problem I got to solve. Let me help them. But maybe not all of them are for you to solve. So that was the daughter. Funny part is her mom said, the only thing I would tell my younger self is probably to hang in there. It'll all work out in the end. So daughter said, it will all work itself out, literally. And mother said, it'll all work out in the end. So clearly there was some coaching from mom to daughter that solidified, and they both had those feelings. Mom was interesting because this particular person has spent some time in as a psychologist and helping others later in life. So she has an interesting take, because one of the episodes I did was on being fearless, trying more, So specifically the fear less, and she had an interesting take on that. She said, we can't make ourselves fear less, and that she took plenty of chances, so she doesn't have any regrets necessarily about trying more, but that life is inherently fearful. It's just how you handle fear that distinguishes it. A lot of the therapy she does with her patients is around the topic of acknowledging fear and working with it or through it. So her perspective may be different than others, and I think there'd be a whole episode talking to her about this, which maybe we'll do. She did say she was brought up to fear just about everything. Just that's the way her mother was. So that's how she was raised. But she read, some research about feeling the fear and doing it anyways. 90% of the fears we experience are emotional or psychological and are not really life-threatening. So true. So it's natural to freeze in the face of fear. But you have to differentiate whether or not it's life-threatening, and just go through it. And so she says she tries to really help normalize fear for people, and acknowledge it as an underlying emotion in most people's problems and traumas in her work. Even just acknowledging it helps to lessen the intensity. And when you name it, fear loses power rapidly. And then you can start to do the thing you're afraid of. Super powerful. So, in her words, she said, hey, once my example is when I started this podcast, there was, maybe some fear, hesitation around it. And I like how she ended this. She said, once you start doing it, your fear goes away and it just becomes something that you're working on. So fear just becomes something you're working on. And I'm not afraid of many things I'm working on. So once I get to that, it's task working, then it's just another thing I'm doing in my day. So I really like that. Super fun mom-daughter moment there. If that resonates with anybody. Interestingly, the most of the women I got were very concise with their answers, and kind of were able to give me very quick ones. A few of the men I asked, 2 or 3 of them gave me bulleted lists and had 7 to 8 bullets of things on their mind. I think this is very indicative of men. I guess I can speak for myself. I think men hold in a lot of things that they may not share publicly or in a lot of circles. So stopping to ask, a male to another male and saying, hey, what do you wish you did differently? Or what would you tell yourself? They had this laundry list of things they were willing to tell me, which is interesting in and of itself, if that resonates with anybody. But one of them said, I would tell myself not to be afraid of anything. Nothing is going to happen as long as you focus on being reasonably responsible. Like, for example, do you want to study abroad? Go do it. Do you want to ask a person out? Just go do it. Don't be afraid of rejection. And their only regret was not working so hard and having more fun. This was from someone who really, really focused on education and work very early on in life and took it very seriously. When maybe others were having more fun, I think this person looks back now and said, "Hey, I wish I balanced it maybe a little more the other way," which is a theme I saw in others. Another friend said, a little bit differently, work and studying towards a career path are more important, and you'll make friends in the process. So he may have had a little more fun when he was younger and said, hey, I wish I worked a little harder. So again, I think it's just the balance of which way you take that. This was a good one. If there's something you don't understand, don't be afraid to get a tutor or to ask help. Investment at a younger age will have exponential returns. Another one, good one on financials. Don't underestimate the power of compound returns. Any bit of investment today will pay off. So I think this was a wish I had maybe invested and saved more younger. Tell myself to, hey, put that savings account, put some investments when you're younger, because a very little bit will pay off in years. I think a lot of us didn't get that kind of financial literacy earlier in life, and hopefully, we can give that now. Read as many books as you can. I think that's a good one. I think we had a lot of emphasis for reading when I was growing up. I think it's just sort of what you get into. And then, Yeah, another friend. This gets again a little bit to the feelings I had about. I tell my young self to always feel comfortable expressing feelings and emotions. Something I think a lot of people, but especially guy friends I know, are not that great at. Um, and then he'd tell his high school, college self to focus a bit more on picking a career. Again, I think some of these are looking back on, hey, maybe I could have went harder in school, was a little more focused. Where then you hear from other folks who were super laser focused and didn't have fun. I think everybody kind of thinks the grass is greener, which is an interesting thing. Another friend, this one I was like really, really heartfelt. This was another friend who said, always do your best. That's what he would tell his younger self. Um, and just very personal for him, uh, that was spoken in, unfortunately, when his father passed, in one of his last moments. His dad said, "Hey, we did the best we could before he passed," and that line really sunk in with him, and kind of became a tattoo. And he thought about that, of I always want to make sure I give it my best. Doesn't mean I win. Doesn't mean I do this. Just give it your best. So that was really personal that they had that moment with his father, and that's a memory of him that he's carried with him. I remember my parents telling me that as well, especially when I was playing sports, was just do your best. They didn't need me to win; they just wanted me to give it my best. That was the outcome. Was not in my hands, but the practice and the prep was. Um, always do what you say. Always do what you say you are going to do. I think that's a really good one. And then, yeah, again, here's another one. Make time for friends and family. This is a great call. Family has built-in events. You have holidays and kind of ways to keep you connected and close. But friends can kind of go in and out of different chapters, and you got to put some work into that to keep that going. The friend who said this is a friend who's been a lifelong friend, and we've gone in and out of various chapters, and I think that's a very true thing that you need to put that time in. Um, and then one last one, and then I'll kind of open up to some thoughts I had on thinking back on these and what might be coming up next for me, and thoughts of where this podcast could go, and interesting things that we might take with interviewing others and getting your feedback as well. Is this is an interesting one. Although middle and high school years are going to be brutal at times, and you will feel a lack of self-worth, you will grow into a deep thinker, and a person consistently working on themselves who has a big heart and answer the call to be a change maker in others. So this person was like really deeply looking back to like those really tough times in middle and high school where I think we're all trying to find ourselves. And when you're in that storm, which we all can remember moments in that storm, it's really hard to see through the fog. And I think it's really important to, when people are in that moment, I think you were saying, hey, if I go back, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. And if we can just keep our head on, one step at a time, we'll get through this. Really great thoughts. So that was just a sampling of some that I got. These are all from personal conversations, some text of, again, colleagues, family, friends. And yeah, I think this has been a really, really fun project. I think some of this makes me want to do some deeper episodes into this. I think going deeper into the fear conversation and how to work through it is interesting. That comes up for a lot, but then, like I mentioned, my aunt has a lot of interesting insight into that, and I might want to get some time with her. And then these dynamics of a lot of the male friends I had who kind of had these whole lists of things they've been thinking about, maybe holding on to them, and just looking for a forum that kind of gave them a chance to get that out there. That's a whole nother interesting side take as well. And then some of these, kind of family mother-daughter relationships. I asked a couple cousins and their parents, and interestingly, they of what they shared of each other, and sort of the threads you can find in a family was interwoven very tightly, which I thought was interesting. Um, so yeah, so I think for me, and where this episode 6 is, and where this could go, is just continually to deep dive in things to tell your younger self. This is making me think deeper about which ones of these resonate with me. Are there topics that maybe I had missed that I keep thinking about? And these are all kind of thoughts that I'm interested. What's resonating with you? Did any of these resonate with you? Can you share things you would tell your younger self? Please write them in the comments, and feel free to give examples. That helps too. And I would definitely think of if there's some interesting interviews to go a lot deeper on some of these topics and start doing some. Right now, the first 6 episodes I've been doing solo, but I'd like to start interviewing and maybe kind of let some of these breathe and air out a little more. So I might want to bring in some fellow friends and have that journey together. So we'll take it from there. So I'll be thinking things to tell your younger self. What would you tell your younger self if you have a younger person in and around you in your home? What things, you don't have to wait. What things would you tell a younger person in your life, whether it's one of your own kids or someone you interact with or work with? You don't have to wait to tell it. You could maybe have that conversation with them now, and really start giving back and helping them maybe through one of these and inspiring it. So that's part of what this is for me. And I'll recommend that you take some action too. So thanks again for joining. Again, Matt Lambert here, and we'll see you next on episode 7.